Hello my soccer universe, my name is Roland and this is Football Talk, and I don't know about you. Matchday 3 at the World Cup or a tournament that has this weird format with the best placed third place teams. It's always a little bit weird because a little bit football logic does not apply anymore, and we saw that as well. What do I mean when I say football logic doesn't apply anymore? I mean, just take a case in point yesterday. Germany already qualified, even though they played a full strength squad. They did not put all the effort in, and Nagelsmann himself said it was more freestyling, so that they suddenly lose to Ecuador, that was not really foreseen. Then you also have dead rubbers, because on top of that we have now head-to-head deciding the places, and so we have already teams eliminated, and then you end up with matches like the United States against Turkey, where the two teams are meeting and have nothing to play for. It's all decided, and still it was probably one of the best, if not the best matches that we saw now on Matchday 3 so far. So for me, you always have to look here more at the incentive, more on the fact that teams want to survive than actually really on the form sheet. And in many ways, the last Matchday is one that doesn't really tell you a whole lot about how the tournament progresses, and this is why it always feels a little bit odd. It was better last time around, where we had only the top two teams qualifying, when they were still all at play, and we had a wonderful third match day at the 22 World Cup that was arguably only topped by the drama of the World Cup final. This time around, I mean, now after 6 groups, I think the most exciting thing is the ranking of the third place teams, but even there we have already teams qualified. I mean, that was to be expected, that maybe a couple of them will go through, and especially the way everything is set up with the groups that produce probably not so good third place teams playing now on the back half of it. But still, I feel the excitement is missing. But then one has to be also fair about the whole thing. We want to have the excitement in the knockout phase. The last match is probably not the one that should give us the greatest excitement, but it feels a little bit anticlimactic when you feel yourself into the World Cup, which started out slow, as I said, already by design. But I think the back end of the first and the entire second match day was actually real good action, was actually fun. You saw many teams, and most teams actually went out to play. And suddenly incentives kick in, and it's not that exciting anymore. And I find this a little bit sad. And as I said, when we look at some of the results that were happening, especially on Thursday evening, I already said Ecuador against Germany. Yes, it was in a way a dramatic game because we know Ecuador needed the win. And it was a game where it was absolutely not expected that Ecuador will get the win, because if you look at the World Cup qualifying form, in 18 matches they only scored 14 goals. So when Germany took the lead, and I really think this goal should have been called back. I mean, with that high boot out there, that this was allowed to stand. But Pavlovic, I don't quite know. But after 2 minutes, Germany, or not, a bit more than a minute, Germany is 1-0 ahead through Sané. I mean, high boot aside, it was actually a nicely played combination. And then I actually then flipped over to the other game, because I thought Ecuador is not going to do that, and how often do I get the chance to see especially Curacao, but also the Ivory Coast. So yeah, was not really rewarded with that one either, although I think visually it looked better, because I don't really like the Germany playing in these uniforms. It just doesn't look right from any point of view. That Ecuador turned it around was then also a little bit the logical consequence, because Germany played a little bit more lackadaisically. You saw it on the equalizer, how they lost the ball, and then very quickly Angulo scores the equalizer through the leg of a German defender, so Neuer couldn't see it. And then while the game was then still for a while open, the more the urgency took over for Ecuador, the more it was clear that Ecuador is going to find that winner, and they found that winner through Plata, who took it out of the hands, more or less. Not out of the hands, because that would have been illegal as well, but Neuer was about to receive the ball, and bang, the ball went to the net. Neuer didn't look good on this one, let's face it, even though I don't see how he could have done a whole lot better. In any case, Ecuador win that one and are through to the next round, and also dashing the hopes of Scotland on who we will have to come at a later point. Continuing this theme with the incentives, I mean, even a chase for the group winner like the one in Group F, where we thought it will be a shootout between the Netherlands and Japan, It didn't really happen because in the end Japan only play a draw. Yes, they were pressing at the beginning and took a deserved lead in the 56th minute. However, then Elanga with a really brilliant goal equalizes, and I have not seen the game then, but then it became also clear Japan could really pump up the scoreline and try to catch the Netherlands, but Sweden then went out defending, and then both teams kind of were satisfied with the draw because it will see both of them through. Yeah, a little bit anticlimactic, and it didn't help probably that the Netherlands already had a 2-0 lead after 10 minutes against Tunisia, although that almost was expected. Was an ugly own goal by Skiri to give them the lead, but then in the end I have to say Tunisia acquitted themselves okay. They got a consolation goal, and yes, the Netherlands could have won 4-5-1 as well if they would have converted a chance. I think Tijani Reiners even hit the crossbar, but the Netherlands at least go in fine goal scoring form into the next round. Whether this is enough to be a real contender, we will have to talk about that in a way. But exactly how this Japan-Sweden game ended was also kind of, yeah, I would have expected more from Japan, in a way. And then also the one game that really had something riding on it, because of everything evolving around it, was clear that if Australia and Paraguay play out a draw, Paraguay is not yet mathematically through, but put themselves in a really good position of advancing, that it fizzled out in a 0-0 draw. A 0-0 draw where Australia was the better team and had the chance to win it late, but it was also the logical result of everything conspiring around them. And so the parallel game between the United States and Turkey was the way more fun game. And there were also weird incentives because, you know, the US changed all but 10 players. So that was not... I mean, I understand it from a squad perspective because this is the chance that you play a World Cup game if you're not a first choice starter. And then, you know, you had the crowd, you had the atmosphere around the US at the moment is so positive, and then you take the lead after 3 minutes, and everything was fine. But you also saw that Turkey, their incentives are bigger because huge disappointment. I mean, going back to Turkey is not going to be fun for either one of them. And so they needed to at least show that they can do something. And yes, then they started playing a little, too late. However, if they would have played with that urgency all along, I doubt that Turkey would have been eliminated. Arda Güler gets the equalizer. Yilmaz gives them the lead. Yes, the States then could equalize right after the half. And just when you thought that the game will end in a draw, Turkey was already the slightly better team throughout. And then in the 98th minute, I think it's the second latest winner in a group game. It's Ayhan who gets the winner for Turkey. So they can leave the tournament with a little bit heads held high. Although, as I said before, it's probably not the proudest moment for Turkey at the moment, but at least they exit with honor. A little bit what Poland used to do. They always exited early, and then in the last group game they at least show something to have people remember that they have been there. So yeah, was an interesting game, but it also, in a way, weird incentives, therefore not really mattering. I honestly have to tell you that probably the best game and the biggest story was the day prior when South Africa took on South Korea. And it was my mistake that I didn't have this on the radar, because I always said after the draw between the Czechs and South Africa, you know, this was mutually assured destruction. Both teams will go out, because I expected South Korea to beat South Africa, especially what South Africa have shown. I had not seen South Korea, but I didn't like what South Africa was shown in both of the games that they were playing. But I have to say they earned their draw against the Czechs as well. And then they outplay South Korea. A South Korea team that is seemingly not a happy camp, where Son is kind of the Cristiano Ronaldo of South Korea, so also not looking quite happy there. And I think there's a whole lot of unrest in surrounding that team as well. And you could feel that they're not a team. They didn't look like they were together. South Africa deservedly won 1-0. Finish in second place in a group that you never thought that they will finish second. This is the other thing on the last match day, that whatever you observe on the first two matches, it might be completely turned around, because it's only a 3-game window. So everything can still change. And as I said, South Africa had the advantage. Now, South Africa have one very distinct advantage over many other teams, that they have players that come all more or less from the same team, the Mamelodi Sundowns. And while it was not great what South Africa were showing beforehand, that actually showed and they get a deserved winner through Maseko, and for the first time ever qualify out of a group stage, continuing the great streak for African teams. I did not expect South Africa to advance, but that they advance speaks for the strength of the African teams that are participating in the World Cup. We also had that the Ivory Coast is for the first time qualifying out of a group stage, although that we already saw coming. But it is also something really, really big for Africa. And Africa will get more teams in. They already have Morocco as well, only Tunisia. And Tunisia, we have to be fair, had a so-and-so tournament. But it's also that the South Americans suddenly make a little bit of a comeback, whereas some of the European teams are utter disappointment. And I look here especially at the Czechs and the Scots. Those were two European teams that came in with high expectations and quite some World Cup pedigree. You would expect something from these. These are nations that actually should light up a tournament. And in a way, the Scottish fans definitely lit up the tournament. But the Scottish team was one of the most dour to watch throughout the tournament, and are on the verge of being eliminated because they ended up losing 3-0 to Brazil, and Brazil didn't have to do much except take the ball away from them and score. Vini Jr. again keeps scoring, and I think I saw a statistic that he is now among a very high rated list of Brazilians who score in each of the group games. Having, for instance, Jairzinho in there, having, for instance, Ronaldo in there, having their Rivaldo there, having their Romario in there. So really, really great players. Does this mean something for Brazil? Brazil is starting to feel themselves more in them also in a little bit. On the flip side, we also have to talk about some hidden winners and losers now during this third match day. And for me, a hidden winner is actually Canada, even though they were utterly disappointed to lose their match against Switzerland and losing home field advantage. Why are they hidden winners? Well, they finished second in their group, and that ahead of the tournament would everyone have said is a big surprise, and they had second more or less sewn up due to the fact that they have superior goal difference. So it was really hard for either Qatar or even Bosnia to make that up, because both of these lost big. But they lost, maybe a little bit unlucky, to Switzerland, although I thought that as for the first 60 minutes or so, Switzerland definitely were the better team in that game. But it was admittedly then in the end lucky, because Canada did have chances, and with a little bit of luck they get equalized and finish first in the group. But finishing second now means they're not staying in Vancouver. They have to go down to Los Angeles. It's not that far. But now they're playing South Africa, whereas Switzerland will most likely play either Algeria or Austria, or some of the other third place team that might be a little bit better. And I think this gives Canada a good chance in their home World Cup, even though they're not playing at home anymore, to advance to the round of 16, which is sensational for Canada, who just have won their first ever World Cup game. So there are a lot of firsts you see in there, but with also an expanded tournament, there was expected to be firsts. Not so hidden winners, of course, Bosnia and Herzegovina, who we beat 3-1 Qatar. Wonderful goal by Alabegovic in there. And can I just say, the crowd, so many Bosnians in Seattle. I guess this is the diaspora and not necessarily people coming from Bosnia, but it was a really exciting sight to see. They win that one, finish in third place, but in such a good standing that they had already qualified by the conclusion of Group A. So on the same day, they just had to wait a little bit. And now we also know that they will take on the United States. And I would still say the States are a favorite. But I have to say, Bosnia went through qualification. They almost pipped Austria to first spot in World Cup qualification group. Only a late goal by Gregoric finally got Austria through, because I don't think we would have managed the playoff path. They maybe were so-and-so now in the group stage. Canada probably should have beaten them. Switzerland in the end ran away with the score, although that had 0-0 written all over it. This is how tournaments change, because since then Switzerland is looking actually positive. But now the good win over Qatar and some exciting talent that many are talking, I think Bosnia can cause an upset against the United States. I still would favor the United States. The United States are a better team. But this Bosnian team is punching well above its weight. So those are also an obvious winner of the not so hidden winners in there. Would I put, for instance, Japan in there, who are now facing Brazil, instead of Morocco? That is a hard call. I mean, Morocco against Haiti was probably the best game overall, with Haiti twice having the lead. Wonderful goal by Isidore in there. However, Morocco twice matching equals and late get the win. At that point, the shootout for first place was more or less down because Brazil had already a 3-0 lead over Scotland, and Morocco needed to win by a much higher scoreline to take first place from Brazil, which also came a little bit as a surprise. So Brazil as a hidden winner. You see, there are a lot of positives falling towards Brazil's way as well. Which leads me to the last segment of this video, where I want to talk about the favorites. Let's look favorite watch. I mean, in these first 6 groups, there are arguably only 3 established favorites and favorite nations in there. I really don't believe in anything that Germany does at the moment. There's the injuries, and even with the injury of Schlotterbeck, they lose some creativity in the build-up play. Whereas, for instance, what they have now, it's more, I don't know. Germany scares me on the back, scares me also on the front. If they turn it on, they can beat anybody, but I see Germany can be exploited. The Netherlands have been one of the most convincing teams in the group stage so far. But who did they play? A Sweden team that honestly shouldn't be at this World Cup. And I like Sweden, but the way they played against the Netherlands, that's the one time that I really saw them. And the way they went through in qualifying, where all the luck in the world went their way. I don't think they should be even there, let alone qualify for the next round. I was hoping that Japan is going to stuff them. I'm becoming a Japan fan during this World Cup, but on the other side, nothing bad against Sweden per se. As I said, I like Sweden. I always had sympathies for Sweden, but it just doesn't feel right. So when I think about the Dutch, that was their statement win. Didn't look good. Their game against Japan was entertaining, but in the end it was hanging on time. I mean, Japan outplayed them, and as nice as Japan is to watch, Japan is not top level quality. I mean, World Cup winning quality. Although I think Japan could pull an upset. Here they make a deeper run. I think Japan have arrived now at the stage where they have to get over the hump of winning a knockout game, that they take the next level. But I think they have raised their level consistently and are definitely a team that will get out of any group stage at this very moment. So, not so convinced about the Netherlands either. I also think that Ronald Koeman at one point will make a mess up again. So, yeah, I would love the Netherlands to go deep and finally get over the hump. I just don't see it. And then the biggest name, Brazil. Yeah, similar story. They did not look good at all against Morocco. Morocco should have beaten Brazil. If it wasn't for that hydration break, I think Morocco would have won that game, because they played circles around Brazil. But since then, Brazil have been feeling themselves into the tournament. And while feeling themselves into the tournament, well, they went 3-0 up twice. And now they have Neymar back. Yes, they lost Rafinha. But on the other side, I fear that Brazil, maybe they get themselves into form, but they also haven't played really anyone. 3-0 against Haiti without any shots on goal, or every shot on goal was in. Yes, you have Vinny Jr., a really good talent up front. I'm just not so convinced. The only thing that convinces me is Vinny Jr. up front and Carlo Ancelotti on the bench. They will not win pretty. So I also think that, I mean, of the 3, I still feel that Brazil have probably the best chance. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised if the team, and that's a team that I have not mentioned so far, that the team that goes furthest among all these that I've been talking about, although that I think is impossible, but let's say of the group winners, could be Mexico. Because at least they play not twice at the Azteca. And that was a huge advantage. Going back to my incentives, the Czechs are not a good team. Is also a team that I think should not have been at the World Cup. They had the luck of the draw in the playoffs, playing twice at home and being twice the worst team and winning anyway, I think on penalties. So crazy stuff. But they had an incentive. They actually took the game a little bit to Mexico, but then the Azteca played its tribute. And even a Mexican B team at first, and then getting on Memo Ochoa and so on, so there was a lot of excitement as well. But the second half, it was only Mexico who then ran away as deserved winners over the Czechs. And there you go. the incentive was gone because they ran out of air. And I think that the Azteca, that's the big boost for Mexico. A Mexican team that I don't rate per se as highly, but that have a significant home field advantage. And they have a pathway that might be actually working out for them as well. Now, looking at the last set of games, I'm of course, and I'm not sure how the video, you will be able to watch this video ahead of it happening. I'm looking, of course, forward to Norway against France, although I could also see this ending up in a dreary draw because both teams are happy. France is first, Norway is second, and that should be fine. But it could also be a super fun game of two of the tournament's top scorers and two of the teams that really made the most headlines. So I'm really looking forward to that. But when I said looking at incentives, we could see the weirdest game of them all. Although I think the potential for that is dwindling by the minute. And that is, of course, Algeria against my Austria. I mean, it couldn't be crazier. This is the very last game. Argentina against Jordan is for nothing again, because that's a game where we know Argentina is already first, Jordan is already last. So Algeria-Austria is the last game that matters. And from the get-go, both teams will advance with a draw. That's already one thing. But then add the wrinkle of collusion in there. Gijon 1982, where Austria and Germany kind of silently agreed after 11 minutes that the 1-0 lead for Germany is enough for both teams to advance at the expense of Algeria. It's still a point of national disgrace for both of these countries involved, and it gets every Algerian enraged. So from that point of view, Algeria desperately would like to beat Austria and beat them big to send them out of the tournament. But there is a chance that both teams could already be qualified ahead of that game, or only if a game gets lopsided that one of these teams gets eliminated. But there's another wrinkle to it. And this one is now really crazy. I mean, I don't think that either of these teams will wanna play for a draw. It might just end up happening this way, but I cannot quite see it. But arguably here, and this is the other thing, it's similar to the Canada scenario, you get the better opponent if you finish third in this group. If third on 4 points sees you through, well, Algeria, congratulations, you are playing Switzerland. Austria, you are playing Spain. Spain is probably the worst draw that one team can get because they are the top favorites. Yes, not fully convincing all the time, but that one half against Saudi Arabia and both teams playing a little bit more open, yeah, Spain can take them apart in no time. And this can end careers of coaches if Spain are really running riot. And I'm afraid of that for Austria, because Austria have not been convincing me at this World Cup. And I actually would like to finish third. I'm just not sure if it is possible to finish third and still qualify. But that game could be really weird because you have the shadow of Gijon in two ways over that game. Both teams could agree on a draw and have both move on, but maybe none of them really want to win this game. And then Algeria has the better chance because, Austria is already slated to be in second place if there's a draw. So Austria would have to lose. But if now Algeria will want to win and beat Austria badly, they could send Austria home as well. It's crazy. And these are the things that you don't want to have. That's why I think expanding it to 48 teams was a great idea in principle. Now, I did not like it at first, but we see many teams that are deservedly there. And if there are any teams that shouldn't be there, it's mostly European teams. I mean, we had the Czechs, the Swedes, and Scotland. 3 teams that I feel don't add anything to this tournament, and Austria is about to enter that as well, as hard as it to say. But we get other teams in there that are actually doing quite well. Turkey actually enriched the tournament with the play, but were just inept up front. So there you go. But that you have these constellations, that's not good. Go to 64. And yes, a lot of cannon fodder will be in there. But I think that's probably the way to go. In any case, those are my thoughts on Matchday 3. You will see another video on Sunday. Then we'll know if the disgrace of Kansas City did happen. As I said, I think Austria and Algeria will play normally. But the chance is there. And it might be the weirdest game. It might also be the one game that I will watch on that match day. Because kickoff times on Matchday 3 from a European perspective are a disgrace. I mean, at least we get France-Norway today, but we had Switzerland and Canada. Yeah, was okay. Ecuador, Germany, okay, but there were more exciting matches happening. And everything is so late, and we were now in windows where we had like 7 and 10 o'clock kickoffs. Give us at least that. No, everything is in the night. So I always hope that the kickoff is at 4 o'clock or later. Then I have a chance to watch the early morning game. But I have to sleep sometime. Yes, and I sleep a lot in the afternoon because it's really, really hot. You probably hear the fan running as I'm recording in this pizza oven that I call my office at the moment. In any case, let me know your thoughts on how you liked what you've seen so far. Are you also a little bit down on Matchday 3? And how do you see it panning out? I'm also looking forward to the first confirmed matchup in the round of 32, which is Canada against South Africa, which will happen already on Sunday. So I'm already previewing it here, and we'll see how the other ones will pan out. As always, leave a comment below, give me a thumbs up if you're watching this on video, or give me a good review, tell somebody else that Football Talk exists. I've migrated about a year ago and made away from the main channel and made Football Talk, so I think there's still a few that need to be getting along. One thing's for certain, there's more to talk about things in my soccer universe. Bye!